Okay, so now it says YouTube is happening and nobody's complaining. So it's Rosh Chodesh Tammuz.
Chodesh Tov.
And let's see if we can find it easily. There's Rav Kook wrote little pieces for each month. And this is what he wrote for the month of Tammuz. I'll make the screen a little bigger. All right. Tammuz. Tmunot pesel be'mikdash hukam. And you see the first letter it's an acronym for the month of Tammuz, Taf Mem Vav Zayin. Hey, all the way from Hawaii. Tmunot pesel be'mikdash hukam. It was on, I guess it was the 17th of Tammuz. Was it that they put up the Mishkan when Moshe Rabbeinu didn't come down, and they put up the golden calf? Machane Iyov ala ir istarea. The camp of the enemy, it breached the walls of the city, the 17th of Tammuz. And that's the day that led to 4 months later to Tisha B'Av, they reached the Beit HaMikdash. This is the second temple. Ube'avarat zedono bechamat nakam, and in the transference going through his disdain and the heat of it's a vengeful. Now, when I was reading this earlier, we couldn't tell whether it was talking about God or the enemy, but that they then attacked us. And then also what happened in Tammuz, Zevach HaTamid Batel, he shit ara. The Batel offering, the Tamid offering, was it's only the first time they did it. Say we're not required to give this anymore because it was not available, even though it was required. It was that time the Tamid, the daily offering, was let go of. He shrit hara, and I guess the evil destroyed it, and so Tammuz is a time of karma. We did heavy duty things starting from the golden calf and onwards. So Rav Kook. Okay, now we go to the Parsha. What is the Parsha that we're in? We're Parsha of Korach. And Korach is an heavy duty Parsha. It begins Korach, son of Yitzhar, and he's a Levite, took himself along with Datan and Aviram, and from Ruvain, and they went and they confronted Moshe with 250 men from the children of Israel, the chieftains of the congregation, and representatives of the assembly and men of repute. The guys with the fancy names, the leaders, confronted Moses, 250, and then look at the verse, and these 250 assembled against Moses and Aaron. And here they confront Moses, they assemble with Moses and Aaron, and they said to them, Alechem Rav lachem, you're taking on too much upon yourself, the absolute leadership. Ki kol ha'edah, kulam kedoshim, all the congregation, we are all holy. Ubetocham Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, and within them is Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Madua titznas'u al kahal Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Why do you raise yourself beyond God's assembly to make yourself higher? We're all holy. Okay, so that's the complaint. And then we see what happens. Well, it says, God, and to show that they're not right, their offering is not accepted, and they are, and it's really, you've brought us, and look at how sick their comment was. It's not enough. You brought us out of a land flowing with milk and honey. You're talking about Egypt. Egypt is a land flowing with milk and honey. And now that we've left Egypt, you're not bringing us to a land flowing with milk and honey or any fields and vineyards. We're just in the desert. So they really created a great rebellion, and it had a lot of impact. People really, it set off a lot of fear in the community. And then God stepped in and said, listen, stepped right in and said, everybody get away from Korach and Datan and Aviram, and get away from them. And then Moses sets up the situation. If the Lord creates a creation, the earth opens its mouth and swallows, and they descend alive. Well, you know that Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is not with them. They've ni'atsu, provoked. And that's exactly what happened. The earth beneath them opened its mouth, swallowed them, their houses, and all the men with Korach and all their property, everything they possessed, descended alive into the graves. The earth covered them up, and they were lost from the Kahal. And then all who were around fled. Oh no! And a fire came forth from Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, consumed these 250 who had offered the incense. That this was the response. Even though they offered the incense, they did the religious act that was required to be done by, I guess it's Levites. Okay, so Rav Kook in chapter, the original entry is written in Notebook 7. He wrote this towards the end of the First World War. He's in London, but it's found in the translation of Orot, the English translation of Orot, in the Lights from Darkness, chapter 15. So that's, if somebody has the their text, they can, but it's not online in English. So, but I'll be using that, and we're going to learn some, not the entire chapter, but Rav Kook had a lot to say about why did things have to go to that point? That God swallowed them up and they were gone forever. They could have made the point in a less drastic way. Why was this level of response for this situation? So, yay. So first he begins by saying, Yesod Harish'ah, the foundation of evil. Rish'ah. That's Shehi mitpatzelet le'avoda zara ve'leminut. Risha, evil, then subdivides into idolatry or heresy, sort of creating a false religion, a false god. Avodah Zorah is creating an idol. Leminut is creating a sort of a religion. But the foundation of all this, a false religion, to try to take over others. The Yesod HaRish'ah, the foundation of evil, which then subdivides into idolatry and heresy, Hu ba levatzer makom lesigei hachaim. It's coming because it wants to establish a place for the dross of life, for the questionable parts of life, lemutarut hametziutiyut shebahavaya ube'adam, for the permissibility in reality of existence and in human reality, to really make the permissibility a place for the dross of life and for the existential extravagances in that are in being and in humanity. Mutarat, it's sort of permissiveness is where you sort of just sort of let anything go. Bemusar, in ethics, ubechefetz, and in desire, bemif'al, in activity, ube'anhaga, and in leadership, where the sigei hachaim, the unrefined, the crude, the ignorant, there's lots of ways of how we understand sigei hachaim, but it's the not good aspects that want to take over our ethical systems, to give free desire, and leadership that will support this. We want to give that aspect, laten lahem godel v'shilton betoch hatov v'hakodesh. We want to let them have impact, strength, and control within the realm of the holy and the good. We want that to be allowed into the realm of Tov and Kodesh. Not that it should be changed, but come on, it's okay. Let's let it in. Lo letaher et Kodesh. We don't want it to, and this is not in order to sanctify the holy. Ki'im letim'o v'lesa'avo, but actually to defile it and contaminate it. And so that's the sort of thing of idolatry. Come on, it's good. Isn't it enough if we make an idol, or if I say these magic words, and then I'm saved? And he says that they want to lower holiness rather than raise themselves to holiness. So now we're going to, and what's the result of that? When do we see that attitude already being the Torah teaching us, who's offering? We have a story here of Cain with his, of Korach with his offering not being accepted. But we have an earlier story of an offering not being accepted, Cain and Abel. And why didn't God accept Cain's offering? And Rav Kook says like this, Lo sha'a Hashem el Cain ve'el minchato. God did not pay attention to, it did not turn to Cain and his offering. Mipnei harish'a shehayta bo achuza. Because of the evil that was already contained within it. What evil? Well, Cain was a murderer. He was capable of doing murder. He hadn't done it yet, but that's not relevant. He was someone who's on that who's in the level of a murderer. So God does. I'm not going to take the offering of somebody who's on the level of a murderer, who can do murder. And God knows there's no past, present, and future. So he was murderous already. Mipnei shaharisha, there was inside it was contained the risha oto haretzach, that same murder, sheyatza el hapoal achar kach, that came into manifestation afterwards. Hayad ganuz v'safun, was hidden and stored bakoach, it was there in potential. Gam be'et havat hakorban mipri adama, even when he did bring his offering from the fruit of the land. And korban zeh, an offering like this, to'ivah, it's disgusting. Hu magbir et kol koach ra, it makes the power of evil stronger. And yeah, chatat rovetz al hapetach umitgaber umitametz, and this negative force is waiting to crouch out and spring out alongside, and then he's strengthened by any contact with the Kodesh, with the holiness, because he's still got the reach of it. He brings that into himself, and it makes the unholy stronger. And ko sovevet holechet hi hakainut harisha. And it's in this way that the evil of Cain, that Cainish evil, spread forth. החפצה שתיטב בעיני השם, שהשם ישעה עליה ועל מנחתה. This desire that, we'll find favor in God's eyes. And it's, we won't change. We'll just find favor in God's eyes. Ki ma'as Hashem ba, but God's attitude was really disgusted with it. ובכל עת מוצא הנה יד הרוצח מתגלה. And the murderous energy wants to come forth, and that's the struggle. Now, I want to pick up a little bit later, because then he's going to say, he's going to bring it to the level of now Korach. All right. Hakainut asta be'adam. That which Cainism, this idea that just accept my offering even if it's not on the level, I don't have to be on the level. that which it did in the human race, et ma'aseh hamif'al hakorchi beIsrael. This is the activity of the Korach energy in Israel. Hakri'ah shel Korach's calling. Kol ha'edah kulam kdoshim betocham Hashem. All of the congregation are all holy, and God is within all of us, not just the two of you. Haita kri'ah lo'eget was a mocking calling. It was making mockery. Lechol tochen hakodesh, to the entire content of the holiness, velechol haromemut, and all the process of elevation, v'hachana hatochit, and the inner preparation. Speaking of Moses and Aaron, hadrusha, that was required. He's mocking all that effort that is required, the ha'asot that needs to be done, ad sheyeh hakodesh mevusas b'chaim emet, to the point that your holiness is really based in true life. Sheyeh muftach mikol pegam v'sa'uv, that it will be protected against any defect and contamination. שלא יהפך לרועץ ולצרה היותר גדולה של העולם. This is a little chilling when you look at history. So that we don't want our realm of kedusha. We need kedusha to be linked to truth and reality, and not to be a tool for defective, disgusting things, that it won't be transformed into, it would not become the world's greatest oppression. He translates it, he shortens it, but so it won't become like a roetz, I think, is like a dictatorship energy, and a tzara hayoter gdola shel haolam, the world's greatest tzara, the world's greatest suffering. Have any examples of religious regimes become the most suffering regimes for people? We look at history under Christianity and under so on and so forth. These are all kedusha that's been too much. So we have to be really careful. It's so that it would not become the world's greatest oppression. Here it is. Hello? מישהו פה? על כן, הוכרח הדבר שירד חיים שאולה. Therefore, it was necessary that life would descend into the abyss. Le'abed mitoch akahal, to be lost from the very within the congregation. Like to happen in such a hugely dramatic way, in the presence of everybody. Veliyot le'olam, and to be forever. Le'ot lebnei Mary, as a sign for the rebellious. Shelo yu od kekorach veke'edato, and not to be any more like Korach and his community. Hakri'ah, and now he brings it to the next level. Korach is within Israel. Now he's taking it to the next level. Hakri'ah el kol ha'amim, the call to all the nations. Hashkuim bechol refesh hatumah, that are immersed in all the mud of impurity, bechol ma'amakei haresha vehaba'arut, in the abyss of wickedness and ignorance, בתהומות החושך היותר מחרידות, in the most frightening depths of darkness. Cultures, people that are caught in this depths of resha and ba'arut and choshech, and Hinchem kulchem kedoshim, kulchem banim laHashem. We're all holy. We're all children of God. Ein hefresh bein am la'am. There's no difference between any nation. Ein am kadosh v'nivchar ba'olam. There isn't a one particular, singular, unique, holy nation and a chosen in the world. Kol ha'adam hu kadosh b'shaveh. All humankind is equally holy. Zoti hakorachut enoshit. This is the universal, the planetary Korach. Shehi hakenuta chadasha. And this is that the new expression of Cainism, shemimena sovel ha'adam, that humankind is really, really suffering from. Keshimimena no tanoa aretz keshikor ve'hitnoded kemelona, that from, I just have to put on bigger light here, hold on. Yes. From where, because this is a pasuk. Noah tanoa aretz, the earth is reeling like a drunkard. Does that sound familiar? I mean, how many places are people functionally drunk? A lot. Noah tanoa aretz keshikor. The earth is reeling back and forth like a drunkard. Vehitnodeda kemelona, and it's tottering like a hut by the wind. It's a little hut. Vekaved alea pisha, her sin is heavy upon her. Venafla, and she has fallen. Velo tosif kum, and she's not going to get up anymore. She will fall, and she's not going to get up anymore. And that's you want just to, it's al pi mika, it's apparently. So this is all going to be ad asher yafuach hayom, until the day that Hashem, the day will expire, will finish this stage of human history. Vayifkod Hashem al tzava hamarom b'marom ve'al malchei adama al ha'adama. And Hashem will command the heavenly host on high and all the earthly kings below, and הביצור המרומי וההרקעה לשחקים שהמינות מתיימרת בהם, this lofty fortress and the flight to the heavens that this heresy, this the note here. I don't know if I want the note here says that he's referring about Christianity. He's calling it minut, but he's historically speaking, this is what the role of Christianity. The lofty fortress and the flight to the heavens. That I just have to believe in God, and everything else it will be fine. Mufrachim lihipol. That's what these religions do. They all have to fall and le'aker miyesodam, and be uprooted from their source, taken out of existence, as it were. Ha'olam tzarich sheyakir. The world has to know. Ki lo behege echad. It's not in one particular statement of the one syllable, one utterance. Be'imrat emuna metu'ara levada, in a statement of theoretical belief, in a statement of theory of belief, theoretical belief alone. I believe in so on and so forth, and therefore, dai adam la'uf legan eden. It's enough for a person just by making a simple statement of faith. It's enough for a person to fly into the Garden of Eden. Ve'kol otzar hara'ah, and the entire treasure of the evil, the treasure chest of the evil, haretzach, the murderer, murderousness, the hati'uv, and the perversity, hasafun bekol chadrei rucho, which is inside all the rooms of the person's spirit who's saying this, in bedamo ubebasaro, in their blood, in their flesh. That could just stay in its place. That can just remain. It doesn't have to change. Umemela, halo einenu tzarich tziruf ve'limud rikuz ve'aliyah. And he doesn't require any purification. Tziruf is like, tziruf is a type of purifying through heat. That limud, learning, rikuz, focused thought, and a concentration on improvement, ve'aliyah, and elevation. We don't need any of that. And then he brings in the verse about, they say that there's no late atir michadzira. There is no one who is so rich as the swine. He's just sitting there. He's not processing anything. He's not an effort. He's just sitting there. His food is also with him in every place and all the time. And we're going to need to make all I have to do is just say, I believe in this, and then, I can sit here and be mean to people, and I can just sit here and do all these bad things. We will Yusam lecholoto achosha. There has to be an end to that darkness. Yakir adam ve'yeda. A person has to recognize and come to know. Ki kol amalot tzarich sheyirukaz letohara nefesh. That all their effort needs to be focused in on purifying one's being. We have to work on our improvement, on bettering ourselves. והאפשרות של טהרתו בתכונת העמים, and the possibility of purifying the nations, Unahi milui shel rikuz. It's completely dependent on a certain focusing in on it. Shehuchan kvar me'az, that has already been prepared al yedei otaha hachana hagdola, through this great preparation. There is a way for the nations to purify themselves. And what is that way? It's that way that has already been through a great process of preparation. Shehiflia yad Hashem, that the hand of God wondrously did, la'asot, that the hand of God wondrously did, al yedei otah ha'umah hanifla'ah, through this wondrous nation, people enslaved by Egypt, and our entire history with and then he brings this is from, one of the Yeshayahu, and Yeshayahu says, this is, we are a people, the baza nefesh, we were considered lemitaev goy, we were considered a disdainful, I'll read his translation, lemit baza nefesh, to the one who is despised by people, lemitaev goy, to the one who is abhorred, hated by the nations, le'eved moshlim, to the servant of rulers. This nation that has been despised by human beings, abhorred by nations, has been made the slaves, the servants of rulers. Melachim yir'u. The kings will see this nation. Ve'kamu sarim ve'yishtachavu. And they will rise up princes of those kings, ve'yishtachavu, and they shall bow down to this nation. Lema'an Hashem, for the sake of Hashem, Kadosh Yisrael, the Holy One of Israel, ve'yivcharecha, for God has glorified us. That verse, he's saying, that's how Isaiah put it. Hine ed le'umim natati. This is witnessing, notice, for I think I'm going to read it from here because I don't think it translates the whole thing. Why did God desire to choose a people? Why did God decide to choose Israel as a Am Nifchar and everything that we've been learning and reading and living through? החפץ של העמדת גוי אחד בעולם, בתור ממלכת כהנים וגוי קדוש, the desire to establish one nation in the world, to fulfill the role, to be mamlechet kohanim, a kingdom of priests, v'goy kadosh, and a holy nation, shehu tzarich liot lemofet. It needs to be a demonstration al ha'or ha'elyon ha'elohi, of how the supernal divine light HaChoder B'chaye Ha'amim, how it can penetrate into the lives of nations, into the lives of people. We need to be a demonstration of what it's like when the Or Ha'elyona Elohi is penetrating into your life. And it could be maybe like the way it is in Israel some days. And people have been speaking about the extraordinary results of some of the battles and so on. But that's what we're here to be, a demonstration of what it's like when God is supporting your morality and your tzedek and all that. And sherak beheyoto matzui ve'omed, and only when this nation is standing beheyoto chason v'chofshi, standing strong and free, beheyoto shav lebinyano ve'leoshro, returned to its intact, fortunate state. אחרי כל הופעותיו המרובות בעבר, after all the many manifestations in its past, all the things we've gone through in the past, אחרי כל ניסיונותיו הקשים, after all the difficult tribulations and challenges and tests, we talk about nisayon for emunah. It's been, I mean, as a child of Holocaust survivors, that was my main question to existence. What are you telling me there's a God? God doesn't, things like this don't happen if there's a God. And figuring it out. But these are all difficult tests to keep us in the path of Israel. But אחרי כל צירופיו וליבוניו, and after we've gone through all our catharsis and refinement, but it's through burning. Tziruf libun is fire, it's things you're not supposed to do on Shabbat. Beshuvo im kol deotav, when this nation returns with all of its deot, it's all its knowledges, all its opinions, im kol kinyanav, all its acquisitions. And here we're speaking spiritual deot v'kinyanav. In kol rechush nishmato, with all the wealth of its soul, v'kisharon chayav, and the ability of its life, all the ability that they have to. Look at how we made life as wonderful as possible in horrible situations. And all of that is now going to be brought, and here we are. It's 100 years ago. But here it is. Israel has been doing this. Im kol taharato hagufanit, with all our physical purification, hagizit, racial purification, emunit, faith-based purification, gizit. Israel. I guess because we see that the children of Israel are many races, right? The Ethiopian and this and that. It's not a racial thing, and so we go through a process. And in kol tochen hahofa'a elohit, and all of the content that the manifestation of the divine manifestation, shahu lo lemorasha, that is our inheritance, v'shesgulat arzo, and migdalato umarchavato. In kol, I just I spent the time in the Hebrew and I didn't follow the English, so I want to see where I am in the English. But in every case, it's he's saying we are now, what we need to do is, with everything we've gone through in our history, because we're here to be a model for the world of what it's like to connect to Elohim Chaim. And this has been our morasha, hofa'ah Elohit, and that the sgula of our land is now growing this and expanding this capacity within us to live in the presence of the divine and act divinely, as al yedei ota hayedidut hapnimit. Once we reach that level, and then through the inner friendship, shehu yechol laharot leumot haolam, that we will be able to show the nations of the world tachat kol hamistama v'haredifut asher kibel mihem, instead of all the oppression and the persecution that we received from them. He's saying we get to a certain level, we will just be such loving beings. This yedidut hapnimit will be able to really, in an inner way, be really friendly to all the nations of the world. I want to make sure. Yeah, through the inner friendship that it can show the nations of the world, despite all the hatred and persecutions that it received from them, through al yedei kol hakavod v'hashtomemut asher kol hagoim kulam yochlu leharot alav, and through all the honor and amazement that all the nations can show it, meaning the respect and amazement, like, wow, it's amazing what Israel's doing. You got to hand it to them, and all the respect, a lot of respect for what we're doing among basic good people. He says, through this, what we develop in our relationships with the nations of the world, tachat kol habuz v'hacherpa asher tiplu alav, rather than all the negativity, instead of all the ignominy and shame that was heaped upon us, buz v'cherpa, there's a disdain and shame that was heaped upon us, they'll be able to show, rather than that, al yedei kol ota hatshuka shel hahitchabrut vehareut im am Hashem ela, im nachalat Hashem, that through all they'll develop a tshuka, a desire for connection and friendship with the people of God, with the nation of God, am nachalat Hashem, the inheritance of Hashem, asher sgulat hakodesh betaharata, letaharat hachaim sfunabo. That is, people who are getting this gift of holiness in its purity in order for pure living, that will show them what it's like to live purely. Asher rak al yedei chikui aroch, and it's only after a long gradual imitation, לא קופיוס, על ידי הדרגה של העמקה דורית. Only a long, gradual imitation through an internalization over generations. It takes generations to enter deeply into these nations. Then Yecholahi latzet el hapoal. Then what's the subject here? I guess it's the connection with God. Yecholahi latzet el hapoal will come. It's only through this process of a really deep, friendly connection to everybody on planet Earth will come into manifestation this commitment to morality and goodness, latzet el hapoal b'midah haguna, in a proper measure, gam b'shar ha'amim, b'chol ha'adam, in all the nations among humankind, asher al pnei adaman, all the rest of the nations among humankind on the face of the earth. And through that process, az yevurar lekol, then it'll become clear to everybody on the planet Earth, kisgulat kodesh, that becoming holy, eina skulas zala. It's not a cheap holiness. Sheyechola lehinatel bechol yadayim misuvot, that can be grasped by any, disgusting hands. Doesn't matter what you do, bloodied hands. Ki'im sgula, it's a special treasure. Ha'oleh be'amal nora, that rises with a great effort. B'mesirat nefesh kevua, by a constant giving of oneself. Ve'al yedei zchut nachalat kodesh shel avot lebanim, and through the merit of the inheritance of holiness from fathers to children, as one generation teaches it to the next generation and teaches it to the next generation. It's only through that, על ידי זכות נחלת קודש של אבות הבנים, נושאי עולם באהבה ושומרים דרך השם בכל עוז. That we reach a level where, I guess how does he translate? Only then, the heritage of fathers to children who bear their yoke with love, that's what Nosei Olam, we're carrying this burden to go do it with love, V'shomrim derech Hashem b'chol oz, and keeping the way of God with full might. And then, az yosru pnei halot me'al kol ha'amim, and then the fog, the mask will be lifted, the fog, the mask will be lifted, lifted off the face of all the peoples, the otah vitranut shel haminut, and that same permissibility, says the compromise of minut is Christianity, but that sort of compromise, you don't have to be moral for God to love you. That's what minut represents, that sort of idea in religion. You don't have to work on it, you just have to say the right words. That whole permissibility, tukar, will become to be recognized, kmo shehi, as it is, betor matbea psula. It's a counterfeit coin. Hamisama et ainayim, that blinds the eyes, umetama et hanefashot, and impurifies the souls. Marbe retzach v'dam, it increases murder and blood, v'chol ta'eva, and every single type of disgusting thing. Which, that's been the human civilization in so much of the world. But finally, they're going to be saying that Israel will have a relationship with the people in the world in such a way that they'll just drop all that, and Hashem ozi umanosi beyom tzara. The Lord is my strength, fortress, and refuge in a day of affliction. Elecha goyim yavo mi'afsei aretz. To you, it being to God, and this is, I think it's also Yeshayahu. I can tell you actually in a minute. Yes. Yeah, this is all Yeshayahu. Hashem ozi umanosi b'yom tzara elecha, to you, God, the nations will come from the ends of the earth, and they will say, Ach sheker nachalu avotenu. Our fathers inherited only falsehood, hevel, emptiness, falsehood, vanity, ve'ein bam mo'il. And here it tries it inefficiency. It has no advantage. It's worthless. It's meaningless. V'nisgav Hashem levado bayom ahu, and then the Holy One alone will be exalted on that day. V'ha'elelim kalil yachlof, and all the false idols will totally disappear. Lo yira'u v'lo yashchitu b'chol har kachri. They will not harm or destroy in all of my holy mountain. Ki mle'a aretz de'a et Hashem. The earth will be full of the knowledge of Hashem, kemayim le'yam mechasim, as the waters cover the ocean seas. Nisgav Hashem levado bayomahu. And the world, everybody in the world will come to join that through the loving relationship, the inner relationship that we will develop. That's the point of this, that we will develop with the nations of the world, and all their korachs universally will be swallowed up, and all that permissibility, which says we don't need to have any moral standards. It's power that counts. These 250 guys that swallowed up were the men of renown, the people of these were the famous leaders and all that stuff. So we're really going to soon sow the world as a whole other way with huge illumination. And may we have to do it within ourselves first. That's the other part of this. He says we have to reach that level in order to bring it forth. And it's also very clear to me that we still got a ways to go. The reason that this war happened now is because we were in our own inner battles for a few years before, and the external battle came to take advantage of our inner battles, and we better learn to deal with our inner battles so that we don't need the outer battles, because we have to create that society of peace and love within ourselves to demonstrate it to the world. And Ezrat Hashem, we're well along. It's extraordinary. I see so much of that, and I really ask the Holy One to make it easy and efficient for us to reach Geula. And may our learning and yearning bring in, I guess, do we have immediate victory? The end of the war, the release of all the hostages, healing of all the wounded, comfort to all the mourners, and the elevation of all. It's quite a large number, relatively, giving their lives for us to be in this next moment of history. And hopefully now we'll really just step into Geula. And if it happens before Shabbos, I will not complain. Venomar.
Amen.
If it doesn't happen before Shabbos, are we having services tomorrow night?
No, no. If it happens before Shabbos, we'll also have services.
Either way.
Both ways, yeah.
Okay.
There's no question. All right. So that's Parsha Korach, but sort of universally and on all the levels the Rav Kook takes things to. But he's really giving. He's saying the Torah is a universal teaching, and we're meant to teach it universally.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov. So, anybody want Rabbi Joe? Anything we need to know?
The Geula is here.
Q.
I mean, one of the conditions is that we live in a land we're unthreatened. We're not under threat. It's here.
No.
This is not that cult of the Geula. I don't see it any other way.
Yeah, it does mean that, right? There's no if Iran is like that whole thing is gone. There's nobody really wanting to attack us.
Is Iran really?
Correct?
You know,
Were we successful?
Were we
know-
successful?
Well, I mean, I heard President Trump himself said we threw down some big bombs, some real big bombs. So we must have been successful.
you know, Rabbi Joe, I tend to think that you're right, though. I mean, we've passed every test. I mean, starting, obviously with the show, which was like the worst, but I mean, we basically passed. I mean, think about all the tests that we've passed since we've come back to Israel. How many people have attacked us? How amazing we've had to be. I mean, definitely seems like at a certain point where if we're not there yet, we're at least on a downhill slope, sliding into it.
Well,
You know what I mean?
student of history should be able to identify with the fact that in all of the battles of Israel, there always seems to be Etzba Elohim, the hand of God is in the affairs of man in all of the battles. So this is just not a manifestation of getting to where we need to be going. And I think the first level has been done.
That's good news.
I mean, the next step is to build the Beis Hamikdash.
Yeah,
We
I
just have
know, totally.
to move a few stones.
I saw something today
Yep.
in the news that Ben Gvir is allowing singing now. There's singing that's all permitted on Har HaBayit.
Yeah, well, that's revolutionary.
Yeah.
You know,
In today's news.
yeah.
They
Right.
weren't allowed singing before?
The first time I went up there in 1997, they told me you cannot move your lips, let alone sing. You can't even move your lips.
Pray.
You hear me?
I remember
That I remember, Joel.
I remember a few days after the
Joel, I'm in Kauai right now. Sorry,
Yeah, I saw
Rabbi
that.
Joe.
I saw that. Maybe I'll fly over. Are you?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
talk after.
Anyway,
Says-
Rabbi Joe,
Okay.
you said you remember a few days after.
well, yes, and I went into the Mosque of Omar because I thought I knew where, as a Cohen, where I could step.
Huh.
And as I was sitting on the carpet right there in the main mosque, not far away from Kodesh Kadoshim, the master of the mosque, the keeper of the mosque, he said that the key has been in his family's hands for several generations, was telling me that that we're sitting underneath here. There's a huge crack that runs throughout Har HaBayit. And he asked me if I thought it had anything to do with some of the prophets. I said, our prophet is your prophet as well, so it must be true. And this was the conversation. But we were inside, after the war. Now you can't even sing there.
Hmm.
Wait, what does the crack have to do with anything? Sorry,
Well, it's
is
a
that
part
something in the?
Yes, the mountain will crack, and so forth.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
don't
that's
yeah, don't miss Poipu Beach. Poipu Beach.
so. Which
Let me just
which
let me
one?
just comment on the crack.
Poipu.
Let me
Yeah.
just comment on the. First of all, close your eyes for a second. One of the things that's important to do is the terrain there is full of cracks. It's been so covered over by buildings and civilizations. If you think about going out to the Judean desert and some of those massive cliffs that you see there where the rivers have carved through over time, or there's like a shift there's earthquakes that 3 or 4 per century, and then there's a splitting that occurs. Then after the splitting occurs, the water flows through for, let's say, 6,000 years or 6 million years. Then on top of that, just recently, you have the Canaanites that built, and then the Jebusites, and then King David, and then now the Muslims. By the time they got there, it's already 2,000, 3,000 years of building on top of these cracks. So the cracks are nothing really special to somebody that can see it through a geological lens. In fact, now in the back of the Kotel, they opened up a new site there. One of the things that the Romans would do is when there was a cave or a crack, they would use their marble pillars to support the cave or the structure so that it wouldn't fall down. That's what you get up in Sfat, for example, where the synagogue of Shem and Ever is. There's a cave back there, and it was clearly a cave for a long time. But then as the cave starts to collapse because people are walking on top of it and everything, they come in with these marble pillars from the times of the Romans. And by the time the Crusaders come, they put in the marble pillars left over from the times of the Romans. So a lot of that has gone on underneath the temple also. And the mosque, is relatively new compared to the few thousand years that came before it and the tens of thousands of years that came before that. But okay, that's just on the crack.
Yeah,
Remember, they've inherited only lies from their ancestors.
that's the way the light gets through. Right. Anyway, Baruch Hashem, Yom Yom. Neheni Miziva Shchina. We're mamash, we are privileged to see Nisim and Niflaot in our days.
Hey, shalom aleichem.
Real
Baruch
every day is a deliverance.
Rabbi Joe, I'm sure I didn't know you were a Kohen until now. I also am a Kohen. I had in our big master Kohen. In 1997, I went up there because before YouTube even, and I was arrested for going to the Har HaBayit. I went during Pesach, Kol Moed, and before I went, I stopped at a Breslov mikvah in the old city, and the Breslov chassid said to me, "Just know that wherever you wind up today, that's where God wants you to be." He was admonishing me not to go. In any case, I got arrested and I wound up in the municipal court. I had to get into a van with people without, ankle cuffs on their feet. They didn't put me in cuffs, but then they appointed me a public defender. And I remember I had to make 3 statements to the court at the end. I had to do a plea bargain where I wouldn't approach the Har HaBayit for, I think they wanted it to be 6 months, and I bargained them down to Shavuot. And then do I want to make statements to the court? And I said, yes, you should publicize that. This is 1997. Publicize that the law that only, Muslims can go here and that Jews can't move their lips. Don't just make it something in a small book, because I didn't know. And I made comments.
Yeah.
One was that I was praying for the time when the prophecy of Isaiah would be fulfilled, that your house will be called a house of prayer for all nations. And the other one is that I would publicize to all my friends what was really going on here. So the judge was a blonde-haired, crew-cutted woman judge, and she was laughing as the translator was translating what I was saying into Hebrew.
I just want to say that also in Geula is rebuilding the Beis Hamikdash and having the cojones to do it. It's almost like Hashem has showed us so many signs that it's the next thing that if we took the step to have the cojones to just do it and not fear, that we would get blessed. Like I 100% agree with that. Just want to say that.
I'm glad you're sharing this from Harabait and not in some crazy escapist place like Hawaii.
No, he's
Oh,
actually
you are in Hawaii.
he's on his way to save the 7 sacred pools of the Kahunas.
Well, I went to. I mean, I've shown some cojones. I went to daven in front of what's it called, Hebron Gate during Hanukkah when they didn't let you. I mean, I've done a little bit in my own way.
We have to get to know each other better, my friend. We have
Well,
to
okay.
talk
I have
outside
some
class.
cojones. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good. I'm
Yeah.
getting to know you.
Joel,
But
have
feel
you
free to connect on your own WhatsApps and all that stuff.
yeah, have you made it to the pastry shop that is run by our friends?
No, but I may actually go up there to Waikoloa this Shabbat because the main Chabad rabbi here is on summer vacation. So I don't know if he found a substitute. So maybe this Shabbat I'll venture up there.
Are you permanently retired?
Permanently retired. No. I'm trying to get back on my feet. I want to go back to Israel and be a tour guide again.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, tourism is coming back. They started flying today. Baruch Hashem,
Yeah.
people can come in
Yeah, maybe
back to the country, leave the country.
Nice.
Good idea.
My mom flew out of Jordan 2 days ago. I guess she didn't
Right.
even need to make that trip, huh?
She didn't, no, no. Well, she had no way of knowing. But
I
that's
know.
it's not a bad trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, the first airline that agreed to fly in was the Fly Dubai. It's a little commuter flight that takes people on a junk to Dubai. They were the first to agree to resume services. Yeah, it's very amazing.
Hmm.
Look, the whole Middle East will change now. That's just a small piece of it.
That's amazing.
You'll see it happening. You know, there'll be a semi-war going
Oh,
on.
wild boar.
You know, we're in the middle of a world war that's been going on for a long time. It's just, people call it by fragmentizing it. It's really a world war if you think about it. But meanwhile, the Arabs are going to come towards Israel. You know, they're going to come. They're going to want to worship in Yerushalayim, and they're going to want to make business with Jews because it's good for them. And I think that there is a movement in Islam. I don't mean radical Islam. I mean the Muslims. You know, the Muslims that don't wear their religion on their sleeves. People who are more conservative in their expression of their religion. But I think that the Saudis are coming and are going to come aboard, and there'll be a lot of African Islamic states that are going to join, Indonesia, places that we've had no contact with.
Because that's Indonesia, right? That whole world.
Yeah, it's very good for business. So
Baruch Hashem, eh?
yeah, Hakol B'dei Shamayim. Everybody should have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos, a Gewalt. Anybody have any good cash Torahs about Korach?
Hey, check this out real quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What time of day is it?
just morning time, 7:20 a.m.
Uh-huh. Oh, Yofi.
Yeah, I just saw a wild boar run across the road too.
Yeah, they're not kosher. But swimming this time of the day is really a gewalt. It's like a mikveh.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm gonna head to Israel within the next couple months. Also, I just had to renew my Israeli passport, which
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Check out the pokey salad.
You said point. You said point. What'd you call it? What was the
Pokey.
place?
Pokey.
No. The area that you said before that.
Poipu Beach.
Point Pool Beach. Okay.
Yeah. Joel, what about some pokey for him?
All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. All the blessings.
Sorry,
Uh,
Joe, what did you ask me?
Pokey is a chunks of red tuna with pepper flakes, soy sauce, sesame seed oil, green onions, chives, a few salt, and lots of sweet Maui onion. There you
You
have
call
it.
it pokey?
Pokey, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have it a lot. It's all over the place here. It's the ahi tuna.
You,
Yeah, I buy it on sale
you eat it?
from a Yid, no, from a Hawaiian.
Right. What do you say, Rabbi Yitzchak?
Rabbi Yitzchak, what was the verse from Isaiah? I saw it in Yirmiyahu chapter 16, verse 19, about we've inherited only lies, and I was looking
Yeah,
for
what
it.
is that?
I have to find it. Let's see. Let's see. Look at 360. Okay, we've heard they'll come to us saying we'll realize we only got lies, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a quote.
Let me find it. It's at the end of the piece. Yeah, it's from Yeshayahu chapter 2, verse 17 and 18.
Well, it seems like Yirmiyahu was quoting that. It's
Yirmiyahu was
interesting.
earlier in there too. But that particular line is from Yeshayahu.
Yirmiyahu was earlier than Isaiah.
I
Okay,
can't answer that accurately.
I'm going to check that. It's interesting. I'm participating in a podcast with a very popular attorney from Arizona. His name is Robert Govea, and he sometimes has a few 100,000 people listening to him every day. And then he's monetized his law degree by creating a locals channel. And then so he has maybe 10,000 people that pay $10 a month on locals. Locals is owned by a Jewish guy. I think his name's Reuben. He was gay, and his brother is from and lives in Jerusalem. And Reuben, his brother, kept inviting him for Shabbat. And this guy Reuben was a very liberal homosexual. And then in the last 5 years, he did a turnaround and became a very, very conservative homosexual. But he's one of the founders of this website called Locals. And Locals was a way for people to bypass the censorship that was going on in the media. And like a lot of politicians will have a Locals channel. So if they get a sizable membership, then they can monetize their content. So anyway, this guy Robert Govea, but he's a Catholic guy, and I'm
So wait, how many
well,
do we get? We get 10, right?
yeah, we get 10. So I'm getting well known because for the last 2 years I've been talking about the China hustle and the Hunter Biden stuff. So anyway, over the last 2 weeks, there's been an incredible theological discussion. and it's a lot of goyim, and they're all saying their piece, and they take Tanakh and then they twist it, and they take Tanakh and they twist it, and they take Tanakh and they twist it. But every time I make a comment, he says, now we're going to go to our Jewish friend Joel for his commentary. And so I'm inserting some of your teachings, Rav Yitzchak and Rav Kook's teachings, into this forum. And that was one of the ones I shared, the other day. So I wasn't sure of the reference, but I'll look it up, and in today's podcast or tomorrow's, I'll share that.
Yes, that's what it is.
I'm snipping dead wood out here in the jungle, clearing the pathways.
All right. Everybody should have a great Shabbos.
Shalom.
Good Yom Tov, Shabbat Shalom,
Chodesh.
and Chodesh Tov, and Tfilat Hodaya. We have to say on Tfilat Hodaya in some way.
Amen.
Be aware of this mayoral election in New York with this guy Mandavi. He's
I've been watching it. I know about it. Yeah, it's like
not good.
fascinating, amazing. Who knows, brother L'chaim? Let's talk soon. I gotta go.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.